for any questions that the committee might have. 30 minutes for the budget presentation. We can ask questions throughout, and then after that is done, we'll have about 45 minutes of more open discussion. We'll try to have more of our questions during discussion, not really during the presentation. And then after deliberation by the committee, we'll reach a tentative decision on fee levels, and then we'll make a final decision at the open hearing that's on February 12th at 5 p.m. in the MU Ballroom. And can you also send me the PowerPoint too afterwards? And just a reminder, yeah, student media is recording everything too. Cool, and go ahead and get started.
Sounds good. All right, well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today on this Saturday to hear our budget proposal for the fiscal year 14. So to start off, my name is Michael Fashana, and I'm the president here at the Memorial Union. And so today we're going to be going over what the Incidental and Fees Committee asked us to do, which was several different things, but I'll kind of walk you through it. And so to start off really quickly, we do have all our information online at this website. So if you have a tablet or laptop, I thought I'd let you get on there and possibly follow along, or if you wanted any more detail, all the information is on there, so feel free to visit that. So to start off, I would like to go over an overview of the Memorial Union organization. And so it is divided into 3 different legs, the first being Memorial Union Facilities and Services, which encompasses the basement bowling and billiards, craft center, marketing and assessment, guest services. The building services are also building services, which physically covers the Memorial Union, MU East, which is Snell, the cultural centers, the Pride Center, and the Sustainability Center. The second leg is the student media department, which the administration component is actually what is in the Memorial Union organization, whereas Beaver Yearbook, Daily Barometer, Prison Magazine, KBVR TV, and FM, as well as the Directory, Journalism Institute, and Student Media Presents are under the umbrella of the organization rather than directly in the organization. So they are supported by us. And lastly, it's student leadership and involvement, which, as you can see, makes up a wide array of things, everything from civic engagement to Center for Fraternity and Sorority Life, Center for Leadership Development, International Students at Oregon State, MU Program Council, Team Liberation, events and activities, the Student Sustainability Initiative, and 400+ student organizations. So now that you've seen our general outline, you can kind of get a feel of who we are. This is our budget overview. And so, as you all know, you asked for us to stomach our mandatory increases. And so currently the fee is at $65.78. That's what we're all paying, obviously, this year, this academic year, and the summer fee, which is what was paid last summer, so about 9 months ago, I guess, starting. And so you can see the total not percent of our budget, but amount of our budget that does come from student fees. And you can see with our incidental fee that we're requesting for the budget fiscal year 14, we are actually looking at a reduction of $4.41. And so that's obviously coupled with that summer fee that was set last winter or spring, I believe winter. And so you can see the total amount of our budget, which is such a small increase that it basically equals 0%. So as far as our mandatory costs go, you can see that our utilities are just under $10,000. And so that's kind of an interesting one because things do become more expensive and things go down as obviously the economy and whatnot changes. And then you can see a mass chunk of our mandatory costs that we're looking to stomach are salaries, other payroll expenses, and minimum wage, which is looking at a total of around $210,000. So we were able to actually obviously integrate that into the current budget, and with the increased enrollment, you do see an ultimate reduction at that $4.41. So what we're looking for at non-mandatory costs with our second budget, it is an almost identical budget, but we are looking at adding 2 decision packages. And so the first is to recover the loss of revenue from the bookstore leaving, which is looking to leave around August or September. It is not an exact date, but they do have that time frame and kind of that goal they've been looking at. And so we're looking to recoup around $732,000, which we are looking for an increase in fees. The second package is for the editorial content coordinator, which again is for student media, but because that administrative component is part of the MU, we would ultimately be looking at collecting that money and paying that woman. And so that would be around just over $80,000 for salary and OPE, for a total of $813,000 plus. So we put this graph together to kind of give you an idea of where the MU's been in relation to fees. And so you can see it compares the student population to the present economic value of our total fee amount, as well as the MU student fees. And so it looks like there's been a fair amount of fluctuation, but in reality, since 2008, we have not had an increase except for mandatory increases. And so the MU really, this is something we're very proud of, that we've been able to hold or lower our fee over the last 4 or 5 years. You do see a dip towards the end of that graph, which if we flip over here, these are just the hard numbers where obviously the lines cross the total fee amount. And so again, you can see that there really has not been that much. Oh yeah?
You want to go back to that last slide real
Yeah.
quick? How did you calculate the present economic value?
Kent Sumner, can you help me out with that one?
Just a calculator online,
Calculator online.
and if you go to the website, it actually indicates where each of those numbers came from.
Okay, so basically it takes, starting in like '03 and '04, and then it just goes up with inflation? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, so you can see obviously we are working with less. I believe it's about 28% less of a value to our budget, so.
One more on that.
What's that?
One more on that. Did you undergo any like major organizational changes in the last like 8 years that might have accompanied for the fee drop at all, or is it just really didn't have too much like drastic changes?
Not that I know. Eric, when did SLI come, or SL come into MU?
That was in 2008.
2008, so.
That's where we started.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's kind of that fund that they have and they're trying to spend down. Then also there is that dip, I'm not sure if I mentioned it with the AABC, that as I flip to the next one, you can see there's that $10 subtraction, but our fee basically held the same because it was the same money we were spending. And also, so we've also thrown on there our proposed fee for budget 1. Well, not proposed, but what you asked us to do, which is that reduction of $61.37. So that's just to kind of give you a feel of where the fee's been. So as far as decision package 1, I did mention that was for the loss, to recover the lost revenue from the bookstore leaving. And so, pardon me. This decision, actually, this process did come at the approval of the Student Fee Impact Committee, which, for those of you that don't know, it is one of 4 subcommittees of the Memorial Union Advisory Board. And each committee is tasked with kind of moving the new Student Experience Center that's going to be coming online, the Canopy and Plaza, as well as the MU East renovations, all moving those forward in different aspects. And so obviously this committee is tasked with looking where we can recover revenue through other areas, as well as possibly increase revenue that we already have, all while mitigating the impact on the student fee. So this is the process that we kind of came up with and vetted through them, and ultimately they did approve it. And so what would be happening is when the bookstore does leave in August or September, the university is giving us a lease backfill of $732,000, which you saw is what we're looking to replace for the decision package. And it's a very unique situation because traditionally that money that we get from revenue from the bookstore is a month-by-month fee. And so, we kind of take that in and we disperse it however we may disperse it. But because they're leaving short of their contract, we're getting a lump sum of money, which really provides us the opportunity to, possibly meet needs on campus, which we have identified with the new Student Experience Center. And so we're looking to actually fill the shortage with FF&E, which is furnishings, fixtures, and equipment in the new building. As Eric Alexander famously says, if you were to turn the building upside down, it's everything that would fall out. And so at the moment, because of the way the bond sale is set up and whatnot, this FF&E is not covered by that bond sale. And so we have had to come up with other ways to basically buy everything that will be going into the building. And so ultimately with that not fully funded, the building will come online and be empty in one way or another, which the architects will tell you that's something you do not want to do, is build an empty space that will just sit there. So we do want to complete the SEC with that money. And so our thought process is to start the budget or start the fee in the fiscal year 14. And we want to do that because this fee is something that's been coming down the road for a while and people know it's coming, and it will obviously be extended so that we can operate these new facilities. We've basically said we want to build, the students have said they wanted them. And so we're looking to start them now so that we can spread it over the largest amount of students with increased enrollment constantly going up, especially next year, and also over the largest time period possible, so starting that 12 months in advance. And also, like I mentioned, the fee increase will be used to operate a larger set of facilities that will be coming online, as well as reduce the impact of what we call the tenant mix, which is the bookstore leaving, as well as some new people coming in to fill leases, and also room reservations being affected, or possibly people not stopping by because of construction. And so a large portion of that money will be used to buy FF&E for the 4th floor, which is student media. And the reason we've identified this need is because I believe almost all the equipment was donated in 1973. And there's that analogy on the screen of using a typewriter to type a paper, or obviously you couldn't put like a PowerPoint together. So for those of you that know, using that analog technology is just not to date. But if you're able to get this money and secure, we can buy digital technology, which obviously is kind of the realm we're in right now. And although technology is rapidly changing, it is in a digital format, which is a lot easier to convert and do different things. So that's really what we're looking for as far as that goes. As far as the second decision package, this is for the editorial content coordinator and student media. This came at the recommendations of the 2012 Student Media External Review, as well as was requested and a need was identified from the Student Media Director, Julia Sandage. And so basically I know the information in the packet, it's all there, but basically this position, why it exists, is to provide guidance, training advice, and feedback for student-led programs. And so this is someone who can physically be on the news, like in the newsroom, as a resource that people can use and kind of adapt to students, where a majority of their focus is concentrated on the actual content of these mediums. And so also a very key part of this thing is being able to work with students while giving them control of the content, because at least me, I know that I want things for the student, by the student, that type of situation, rather than just publications given to me. So now that you kind of have a general feel for what that position is, this position actually currently does exist. The Student Leadership Fund that was brought over with Student Leadership, and now it's SLI, is has been told to spend down. And so part of that money in the past was used to fund this position for this year. So as I said, it does currently exist, and the position will run through June, the early part of June, but that's all she's contracted to do. And so this increase, we are looking to extend this position because, as you can see, and I'll go into detail, she has begun to accomplish a lot, especially in just a term and a half. And to have these as needs is really being felt in student media. So you can see daily written critiques, Portland media trips, basic journalism workshops, schedule speakers, design a certificate program, developing an integrated newsroom, and has also been able to start building relationships and possible collaborations. And another key thing about having a person already in this position is the qualifications she holds are all the preferred skills and experience, as well as a lot more, such as a master's in investigative journalism. And so it really is, we're getting the most bang for our buck, and we're looking to hold this position, and hopefully she can continue the good work she's been doing. She is a Beaver. She was a journalist in 2003 for when the paper won, or was nationally recognized. So, she's been here before. She knows what's what, and we are looking to keep her. On a little side note, just since the first of the month, 2 school university papers have been sued for student-produced content. So, it is a reality, and hopefully something that we can avoid with this position. So kind of moving out of the fiscal year 14, I'm sorry, that says 14, but we're looking at fiscal year 15. We are looking at the summer fee, and so presently the fee is set at $54.73. Okay, yeah. So currently the fee is set at $54.73, but we are looking to raise it to $64.03. And our justification behind that was that it was 17% increase to match what we were hoping to increase to meet our decision packages. And so that's where we've come up with that number. And ultimately, it is down the road. We can't specifically guess, but it is kind of a unique situation, especially with the union, because the building is open over the summer and plays kind of a vital role for students that are here. And I guess it didn't fully transfer on this slide, but you did give us enrollment fee or enrollment numbers for summer, which I believe were at 6,500. But that's the amount of students that pay fees. And again, in the unique situation, I believe it's more realistic that there's about 10,000 students here over the summer. And so that's where the union being open and being a reactive entity really comes into play, because although there's only those people paying students, there are a lot of people that are here over the summer that are part-time students or that are not taking classes and working like I did last summer. And so, the building really is catering to a wide variety of students, not necessarily in that traditional role, as well as community members. And so on top of that, we do a lot of our construction projects and like repairs over the summer. So just flat out charging them what it costs us to run the building over the summer would not be fair, especially with the smaller amount of students. So that's why we think it's fair to kind of keep it even and raise it an even percentage so that we can continue to fund the building. Okay, so now that you kind of got our general budget overview and saw our decision packages and summer fee, I would like to point out some of the highlights from the questions you all asked, specific and general, to hopefully give you a good frame of reference for what we're looking to move towards as we hopefully get these budget package increases. So you did ask us how many students do we serve and how many students do we employ. As you can see, about 90% of our overall staff is students, and just about 10 or 11% is professional, unclassified, and classified staff, which is something that we obviously love. And but as you look into more how many students we cater, obviously we have a lot of different demographics on who's here and why. But some of the highlights are, there are more than 1,000 students that have attended sponsored events by all three of the Memorial Union legs. And over 1 million people have patronized the MU restaurants, which is huge because, as you'll come to see with a few more of our support graphs, that is a large part of our revenue and ultimately our budget. We also have we served 17,000 meals through the Cultural Meals Program, 6,000 have participated in classes and workshops, and over 500 volunteered for projects such as the MLK Service Project, which was a couple weeks ago. And so all that kind of translate, and keep in mind, this is just student-sponsored or student events that were in the MU and not the other facilities that we support. There were 5,000 of them, which equates to about 1 million guests who have attended, and as you can see, 94% of them are students. So although we have that, a great facility to kind of build those community relationships, ultimately it is students. So question number 5 that you asked us in the general questions was about new programs and how they're assessed. And so the way we assess programs here, as you've come to hear, we do have a wide variety of things. So we assess everything a little differently, but everything that is created or comes online here comes with an assessment piece. And the way we do that is usually through attendance, so amount of students that come, learning outcomes for a lot of those classes and workshops. And we also look at revenue, especially with MRFs and some of those Memorial Union Program Council events. So some of the new programs that we've been able to bring on just in the last term and a half are the Leadership Fair, Country Music Concert, Java Acoustics, OSU Cultural Affairs, the Beaver Bowl campaign, and also student media has been engaged in a process to really solidify that relationship with not only New Media Communications, but College of Liberal Arts as well. And so we are trying to either get a fee for them using the equipment or build a relationship where we can be way more hand in hand and kind of build from there as the new building comes online. So question 6 was about department assessments. And so being in leadership or student affairs, everything is required to do a department create an assessment report as well as a highlight report. So those are kind of public information, but what we really value and really measure ourselves on are other unions around the country, especially with the organizations we're involved in and we often conference with. And so you can see some of the major national studies we've taken a part of. A really huge one that we often kind of reflect on is the National Student Union Benchmark Assessment, where we actually placed #1 in 5 different categories, which was college union is student-oriented, the programming events are on campus, programming events on campus, dining services, union staff, and as you can see, overall program efficiency, which translates to kind of best program, which we like to say. So in addition to those, as I mentioned, student media went through an external review last year. We did have an ADA assessment report, which some of you who were on SIFC last year may be familiar with, and how we were able to allocate some money for that, as well as chip in to make this building as accessible as possible. And we also were involved in a study that was funded by Portland State as they moved forward and kind of re-examined their union program and their budget. They looked at not only the state of Oregon, some of the major union buildings, but also looked at a few other national ones that are in urban areas. And so, as I mentioned, Portland State did fund this study, and as you can see on the right, percent of student fees, we are the lowest out of everyone that was surveyed at 47%, which we loved, as you can imagine. And you know, you can even compare similar budgets such as U of O. We are lower to them, or you can even kind of go to the extreme at the University of Illinois and see that 28 million, which, you know, translates to 64% is a huge student fee. Obviously, we're in kind of a different league than them, but this does give you kind of a general idea. And this 47% also plays a key role in our budget, because the rest of our budget is revenue that's generated, where not a single one of these other unions, the rest of their budget was revenue. They all received either kind of weird donations, however it's set up at their school, or as general funds, money out of general funds from the university that was floating the union. So we were the only one that just had student fee and revenue as our budget. So kind of tying into that is ways to reduce our student fee and is our fee at an appropriate level. And so, as I was just talking about, our income is at 53%, and our revenue is at that 53%. Student fees are at 47%. Obviously, that's amazing, but what's also very cool about that is that last year, our income revenue was 52%, and our student fees were 48%. So as you can see, even with keeping that fee flat over time, our student fee, we're still producing enough revenue to chip away at it as we can, which, especially going into the construction period we're about to enter into, you know, it does kind of put that system into check, because at a certain point you can only become so efficient and cut so many things and move dollars until, you know, it is ultimately exhausted and you need to increase that fee. And so again, just to kind of translate to you that graph, you can see how that's gone over time. And so last, for general information, you asked just for any specifics or things you'd like to know. We've talked a lot about it. Many of you are involved with the process to bring the new building online, as well as you can see the east wing and the canopy. So ultimately, the operations of these buildings and structures will come under the MU. And so as we look to start taking those fees on, please keep that in mind this year, because it is a kind of a year when we're looking to really do that. And so bringing the fees on now can mitigate that impact. So for specific questions, these, I did want to touch base on these. Obviously, all the details are in your packet. But as far as the building reserves, these are the recommendations from SIFC. As far as the building reserves, again, that kind of translates into construction, because a lot of the things that might come up for construction would not qualify as grounds to pull money out of our reserves. And so that money's kind of, you know, set aside with the understanding that we are going into this period starting in 6 or 7 weeks. Spring break construction will be starting, and at the end of this academic year, going into summer, we'll be breaking ground on the actual building. So they truly are right around the corner. As far as the SLI fund balance, you did get a chart that kind of shows you the breakdown of various things that money will be going to. You also made a MRFs recommendation that we enter into an agreement with them that kind of solidifies our relationship. Even though they are in our organization, we have tweaked that a little bit for a 3% net sale agreement, which has bumped us up to 6% increase in revenue. As far as the cultural meal kitchen rates, we are keeping those the same, because we don't want to bump them up. We're looking to increase the amount of programming we're doing out of there, and so that is a university fee structure, and so hopefully we can keep that where it is and ultimately bring in more money and support more programs. So you also asked about the SLI-MU relationship. This one is complicated yet simple in the same sense. It is directly a part of the Memorial Union organization, and so it is responsible for a majority of the programming done on our part as well as student development. And so you can see, obviously, they're our major programming link, but they are meant to support meaningful and diverse learning. And so you did see that list. They cover such a wide array that that is a reason they're ultimately a third of our budget and are producing most of the programs on our side. And they obviously are not meant to recoup revenue unless it's those specific MUPC events. As far as loss of the bookstore revenue, I did want to touch base on this a little bit because it does directly go with our first decision package. So what we have confirmed so far to offset as much of the losses we can is that OSU printing and mailing will be coming online in MU 103, which is obviously an increase. We also are leasing space to Many Hands Trading, and part of the construction for both those projects will go in with the renovations for the MU East. We have a new restaurant going on the north porch of the MU East wing as well, and then we have 2 new event spaces that will be coming online. We are still looking to take away, as much of those fees as we can from students. So we are looking into ultimately converting the AABC once it moves to the new building to kind of a high-tech conference room, but that's still being looked at. That is down the road. And also possibly bringing back the ID Center. Again, that is potential, but where we see potential, we're really hoping. There also is, there are even talks of Azamano Travel, I believe it's pronounced, about possibly bringing them in, which wouldn't be a huge increase, but obviously getting every dollar out of the space that we lease is important to us. So ADA ADA renovations, we did have that study done a while ago. So we are starting those over spring break, and as you know, we did receive raising research allocation dollars from that. So we will be moving that forward, and our goal is to do, I can't remember exactly how many barriers we had, but our goal is to get rid of all those barriers, and as I said, make the building as accessible as possible. So that was the presentation I had for you all, and so I'd like to open it up now to questions to the committee. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Is there a plan for those ADA renovations, like when they will all be done or that sort of thing?
I'm not sure if we've confirmed when they've been done, but they will be starting spring break. And so yeah, I don't know if you know who Sid Cooper, that'd be the man to talk about because he does have that all graphed out. But we are trying to coincide that with the construction that will be happening in the MU already. And hopefully, what's also very cool that Sid has been doing work on is working so that the construction on the new building, the canopy, and the MU East, as well as the renovations, will all go together, and we can kind of streamline that. And he's got the checklist of what goes when.
The main issue is I didn't see any working capital plan. Because the working capital it's about 60% over what it should be. And that's one thing that we did stress asking for in the guidelines is for a working capital plan to kind of show how you would draw that down to more recommended levels. I guess, do you know what the MU plans to do with their excess working capital?
Do you know, Michael?
So most of our excess capital is being held for the 2-year construction period. There are so many unknowns going into that with FF&E not being funded or allowed by the action of the legislature. We have to self-fund that. There's quite a bit of uncertainty about the scope of our ADA projects, and while we did not get all of the money for our ADA improvements from the Raising Reeser, there are additional opportunities during construction that we may spin out, restrooms that need to be upgraded or replaced. So really most of that is all construction related, but specific projects will sort of fall out as we move forward in the construction plan.
So you kind of anticipate to use up most of the excess
Yes.
doing?
In the next 2 years, I don't think there will be revenue at the end of our construction period.
Okay. I would just say,
Would you agree?
what's that?
I was asking Jen if she would agree.
I would agree with that.
Okay,
That's something we're looking at in the impact committee too.
all right. I would, oh, go on.
Sorry. I would go so far as to say that, if you wanted maybe an action item is to have the fee impact committee really consider it as they look at the FF&E piece. And we will be in that committee giving a document out to the MU organizations that will be moving into the SEC and collecting needs sort of assessments on what won't be, if you will, in the capital construction piece of it. So that will fall to that operating budget to cover.
Okay. I would just say, because it wasn't talked about at all in the budget, and that's something that, I mean, just like an explanation like that would be something we'd be looking for, but it just wasn't mentioned at all. So that's, yeah.
We can put something together. I can work with Michael to get something before the open hearing, if that's helpful. But
Yeah, that'd be good. Does anyone have any questions?
That was my only question.
Okay. Also, for budget one, I was interested in what you cut.
What we cut?
Yeah, because that was also something we wanted to see a list of, I guess, the cuts that were done to make up for mandated increases and, I mean, or any other maybe revenue shortfalls that you expected. And do you have is there a list somewhere, or?
We originally started generating the list. We kind of, as things changed and we started to move it around, it's like in draft form currently, and unfortunately with our director being out of town, maybe Michael can, anything I miss he can cover, but we can formulate a list for you and get it on Monday, but there's a lot of 28% here, this, that, so, anything you want to cover on
So I
that?
have a copy of the budget with the 50 line items that were reduced, highlighted, but I think what you asked for was to have it summarized in a cover sheet, and we'll get that to you by Monday, but if you want to look at the copy that has the line items marked, I have it with me.
Okay, I think a good summary will be good. Cool. I was also interested, the civic engagement service, is that what that?
Center for Civic
Yeah.
Engagement?
They got some president's honor
Yeah.
roll.
Yeah, they were on the U.S. President Obama, his honor roll for service. Was it in the slide? I believe it was. But yeah, they were recognized, and I don't know if you know the history of that program, but that is pretty huge, especially as it started to grow. Not only people volunteering and getting a lot more support, such as AmeriCorporate, but yeah, they were recognized for that. And so, did you have a question about that?
Well, I was like, yeah, what does that mean, really, and I'm just interested.
I must have taken that. Do you know about that one, Eric?
Sure, yeah.
More detail.
So the honor roll is, it's an application process, and you have to kind of meet a certain level of criteria, like having infrastructure, working on service learning projects, engaging across academic and co-curricular means, the number of people you connect with in the community. So there's kind of all these different markers that help get onto the honor roll. And we made it to the honor roll, and there's kind of these almost like the gold and medallion levels, which we're not at that stage yet, which some other institutions who've been in the game a lot longer than we have. This center just came really online. Emily's been here, this is her second year, so it's a pretty brand new thing to do, and so even having that infrastructure actually got us onto the honor roll, and now we're moving forward on kind of some of the higher level recognitions as she grows her program there.
Okay, cool. So the MU retail food service line item and receipts, that would just be the money you get from all the different food places.
What was that? I missed
For the MU retail food service, for the income, that's just the money you receive, like in commission or whatever, from all the different food places that you operate.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is not a lot. There's a very, very small amount of retail services like that at other universities that are outside of university, like housing and dining, that are able to actually produce positive revenue. And so, yeah, ultimately, while competing with, like Monroe Street and local places like that, and university housing, that is the revenue, but they often we'll start to build up a fund to open a new place like Ava's Cafe. And so, yeah, ultimately they take that money to spread the operation, and that is revenue that comes back into the budget.
Okay. I noticed, I was just interested in why it was, I know it grows a little bit from your approved, from last year, but I guess why was the actual result in, like, the actual result in 2011, 2012 was, it was very good. It was like 450,000 higher than, what the approved amount was. I'm wondering why the requested for this year is actually lower than the actuals from last year.
Mhm.
It just seems like, I don't know, it would go up, but
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah, I was just kind of interested in the reasoning behind that.
Fred, are you speaking about retail food service?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just based on whatever the experience is, what, people
Okay.
are buying, how many restaurants are on Monroe Street. At one point, there were 23 places to buy food on Monroe Street. So we are affected not only by our own actions, but the actions of the housing system, the ways in which students each year choose to, spend within their renewable amounts of money, because once their initial $75 a term or whatever it is gone, then they have to pony up additional money to put on their card for a declining balance option in the retail side of campus. So the experience of that's going to change as the population of students change, and most of that is then reflected in whether or not food sales are up or down.
Okay. Do you kind of track, do you track that throughout the year, and you can kind of tell how you're doing? How you, like, if you can project it or anything, like you think, oh, we're doing better than this year, so we'll probably do better than what we thought at the beginning of the year? Do you do that at all?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we have sales through fall term to look at. And then we have to try and project that forward, and anticipating food costs, a year ahead is a bit of a toss of the dice.
Yeah.
So certainly they use every piece of data and resource that they've got.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The other thing impacting retail food service is construction. So with the
Yeah.
bookstore locking down and turning into a construction site just prior to fall term for next year, we know that we'll take a hit
Okay.
for loss of traffic on that end of the building.
Gotcha. You mentioned that you might receive July and August revenue from the bookstore. There's a possibility that might happen. How would that affect a transfer from the university, and did you reflect that all in your budget?
No, we did not include that July and August income, I guess you'd call it, because ultimately they wanted to leave right at the beginning of the summer and the process would start, but it has been bounced back and forth. And my assumption is, since that $732,000 is an estimate, I'm assuming it would affect the overall. Michael, you want to elaborate maybe?
Yeah, I mean, the information about their late summer move out versus their July move out really only reached us about a week ago. And there's a possibility that they will catch up on their building plan as they progress through construction. And so while they are running behind time right now, other phases of construction move more quickly. That could slide backwards. They obviously want to get out as quickly as possible and settle into their new site before fall term. So they would prefer to move sooner rather
Yeah.
than later.
Okay. Do you know when you might know? Like, do you know when you know for sure?
I have
if
a
they're
feeling it's going to be pretty last minute.
Okay. For decision package 2, you say if it's not funded, then where did it go? Then you'll fund it through loan options. I was interested in what you meant by that.
We actually do, just in case you asked about that, we have a summary right here from student media about the options that we can go into. So, although this directly doesn't affect the increase, this is Yeah, that kind of breaks down the possibilities. Could you restate your question? You were asking about the loan specifically?
Yeah, this to fund the position for the
Oh, for
editorial.
two?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
This-
sorry.
Yeah, well, actually, this is good because I will ask about that too.
Okay.
But, yeah, for the position, for the decision package two with the editorial advisor,
Mhm.
if it's not approved, it says, the technical package for student media is moved to the SEC will need to be, funded, wait, maybe?
So you are talking about one, right?
Okay, I'm reading this wrong. I was thinking decision package two, just kidding. I was reading that
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, that loan is in
Um,
reference to one.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess if you could explain like the loan options for the equipment as well, which is basically what that admin transfer is being used for.
Yeah, and so as you can see, these are the possible breakdowns. So this would be our ideal situation, and my assumption is that if we were to look to a loan, it would be some combination of this and a loan. And so this is an ideal situation, but like the College for Liberal Arts and Media Services, right now, the language behind that and exact amounts being finalized, but they are looking in the neighborhood of those amounts, as well as like, well, the TFRF grant is obviously not solidified, but private fund donations are building up, and so I'm assuming it would be some combination of that, but obviously we want to avoid that at all costs because, you know, a loan, you do not want to incur that interest. So,
Okay. And then SIFC, that's the admin transfer from out of the MU. That's the admin transfer for the bookstore.
no, that is not the admin transfer.
Wait, hold on.
I think that's the, Jen, do you want to maybe go into this a little further?
I would, but I will say that I think this is an outdated slide, that I don't think the student funding is accurate reflected for the 728, because I believe the intention of this was the 728 that was actually going to be applied first to the FF&E. That is the option of what needs to be funded first, and that'll be what the fee impact committee looks at first. And then any available dollar amounts will be applied to student media. So the 728, far as I know, is not supposed to be represented there fully in that dollar amount, but anyone, please correct me if I'm wrong in that statement. The 271 is actually replacement equipment in the Ed Act budget that's being evaluated, and that yet has not been a determined amount. So I believe those two numbers are variable at this
All of
point.
the numbers are variable. These are projected best possible scenarios, and really just trying to give you an example of if those dollars, if the loan part of it would mean any number of those variables were to go away, we may have to borrow the difference. And so you could put any number in those placeholders.
So what the fee impact committee will be looking at first is actually funding the, as Michael indicated earlier this afternoon, that the FF&E is not part of the approved budget authority for the bonds. So the FF&E is funded outside of that, and we'll be looking at funding that for the MU and the SEC first prior to applying any additional funding left to student media.
Okay. Gotcha. So something I noticed, so the main difference between at least budget one, budget two, is that the transfer in budget one is the admin transfer for the bookstore is applied to operations, and then in budget two, it's applied to FF&E.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. I guess, so that's kind of, for example, if you wouldn't, like, no matter what, like, if budget one is approved, then you would not send the money to FF&E, you would then apply it to, like, is that kind of I'm kind of wondering why the difference in doing that, because I was just kind of, interested in, like, why you decided then in budget one that you would apply to operations instead of also using that to FF&E.
Well, I think ultimately, if we're unable to get that increase to start funding or start paying for operations, we need that money.
Okay.
Yeah.
More so than you need to actually fund FF&E.
What's that?
What you're saying? more so than the need to fund FF&E.
Yeah, because that's operating costs of what we currently are operating
Yeah.
at, as well as what will be coming online, so, yeah, we're not gonna shut down a wing of the MU or anything.
Anyone have anything else to add? I was interested in, so New Media Communications has started to reimburse the MU for the practicum instruction.
They haven't started, no.
Okay.
But-
It will next year? Is that,
Yeah, they will start next year, yeah. And that's in addition to hopefully taking some ownership of this equipment, correct? Yeah. So,
okay. Do you have like an estimation on how much that will generate in revenue?
It'll be dependent upon the number of students
Mhm.
that take practicum. Right now, we have 90, and we're basing that, the lab fee on the type of fee that we would charge for a PAC class or for like the bowling alley, that sort of thing. And so based on a $34 per student enrolled in practicum, we're hoping to get practicum up to from 90 to 120 students. And then we also teach two student, or what am I trying to say, studio production classes in student media. So if we run those numbers all the way through, depending on how many enroll in all of those classes, it would be $34 per student per term.
Okay.
Is there,
Fees to offset laboratory fees, not instructional fees.
is there a plan in place then, within the, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be position description, but I guess for the, if the, what's the, editorial content coordinator position, is continued, because right now it's funded until June, correct?
Right.
So if,
For this fiscal year.
for this, for the end of this fiscal year, so then decision package 2, if that position were, to continue receiving funding, would they, or to receive funding, is there a plan kind of set up for how to increase, participation in practicum courses within
So
that
would be allowed
position
to
specifically?
At least 30 more students in. Right now, we have, we're still, one faculty member that doesn't have a full set of students. We did reduce it down to 30 students per faculty member or professional, because it was overwhelming in a way that, some teachers had, or some of the faculty had 100 students and some had fewer than that.
Yeah.
So we tried to max it out at a doable, workload for the professional, and then still making them 100% available to student media. But ideally, we'll get up to 120, and then there is an adjunct through NMC that teaches those studio production classes. So she is not a part of student media, she's paid with new media fees. So she pays a fee to use the lab,
Wait, so it's,
and that will begin in the fall.
you get $40 a student, is that what?
$34 per, we will begin charging in the fall, $34 per student enrolled in the practicum or studio production.
And does that make up for the time spent teaching or instructing?
It does not reflect instruction. It just reflects the use of the equipment, the weight on the equipment, the wear and tear on the equipment, and the building facility.
Have you tried to get reimbursed?
We are working with that, and there is some, there's some mandate coming through the university that we're trying to work around that would pay adjunct fees toward the professors. But it would still go to the faculty member as pay rather than into the program. The lab fee goes into the program budget.
Okay, and then this reimbursement would just go help offset the salary.
Or it would be an addition probably to the salary. I don't know how that would work, and Jennifer might have to speak to that. But the way I understand it is we are paid to instruct. It is part of an additional salary. We aren't paid to instruct those. We've done that as a recruiting tool, as a way to bring in students and keep them there. And practicum is not a class that you teach per se. You do
Yeah,
some grading and so forth, but it's really a hands-on exam.
But New Media Communications requires practicum
That's right.
still.
To graduate. So there is some working out to do in this relationship. That is one of the reasons why we're asking them as
Okay.
But student media professionals, the 4 professionals that are professional faculty do show up as special instructors or adjunct instructors for new media communications right now.
Okay. Something you mentioned in the questions was about compression of wages, because you have, like, the students who are paid with minimum wage, they go up when minimum wage goes up, but then
Yeah, those
the
with the,
wages for people paid above minimum do not increase.
no, not with kind of stomach those mandatory increases.
Is there, is that what, I mean, is that what you've just planned, is that the plan going forward, is just not to have any increases in student, yeah, yeah,
No, I think that's just kind of an effect of what we're seeing right now with trying to stomach those, mandatories with the minimum wage going up. That's not ultimately the plan. And traditionally, especially in SLI where I worked, after a year you do get a bump. So I think that's just a temporary thing. Does anyone who employs students want to maybe speak more on that, or Michael or Eric?
So the current estimate from AABC for eliminating any compression that might occur with a January 1, 2014 bump is not reflected in the budget.
Okay.
We feel that mostly that's a discussion at the time that the minimum wage goes up that we have with SIFC. The prior year, it was rather significant. I think it was close to $14,000 or $15,000 for the MU. Our current cost to eliminate compression is only about $7,000. So, if we feel that we need additional student fees to cover that amount of money, we generally come to you as a contingency fund request.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, I feel like, at least to me, it makes sense to try to eliminate that type of compression,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially when you have other wages that are going up, because it's kind of unfair.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree with you, especially because those are usually the people with, that have been here longer, like built up skills and are pretty vital to training the next people coming in.
Mm-hmm. I would, how much, do you know how much you pay on student pay every year? Yeah, because I mean, I guess it's, they don't really, you'd have to go into every budget and find student pay, which makes it a
Yeah.
pain.
I don't have a number for you. I think I had a percentage,
It's a little over $1 million.
over $1 million.
Okay.
I want to say that's like 35% of the total salary
Salaries.
OP.
Yeah. Do you
Or
know,
salary.
are the majority of your students paid minimum?
I believe so. No, they're not. The majority are not paid minimum. Robin, Ryan, would you like to?
Yeah, I can actually speak a little bit to that. So, obviously, our food service component is one pay scale. Our advanced services, depending on skill rate and the length of time of service to the university. The leaders that are in our program also depending on length of time as well as skill level and expectation of outcome. So there really is a wide range from minimum wage, probably upwards of $12 or so an hour is probably around the top.
Okay. Because I mean, personally, I don't know what other people on the committee feel, but the ASOSU way of linking pay to having a percentage above minimum wage, I feel is one of the better ways to kind of go about. I mean, you need to reevaluate like that percentage above every now and then or constantly. But I think it does prevent, that's one of the best ways to prevent the compression.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Anyone else have any questions, concerns?
You said in the presentation that you have confirmed sources of revenue. Are those reflected in?
They are reflected,
Okay.
yeah.
Wanted to make sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, so, you wanna pull up your summer fee slide?
Yeah. I think we might have it.
So these, something I have that's day January 10th that I got from Michael was it listed a summer fee for budget 2 of $73.16.
That's correct, yeah. Oh. There may have been a mistranslation. This was one of the things we were just working on, but we did submit that $73.16 to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I believe that 17% is for the, if it were just to go up to kind of match budget 1. And I think this 73 is our prediction for if we were to get these increases for 14, where we'd want to be in fiscal year 15 with the summer fee as fiscal year 15 develops.
Wait, so, because I mean, like, for fiscal year 14, that's the summer fee that's been set, was the $54.73
Yeah,
last year.
yeah.
And you're requesting for summer, for 2015 is the $64.03.
That is, yeah, that 14, unfortunately, this is supposed to be fiscal year 15 down here. That is, Michael, do you want to maybe clarify that a little bit?
Sure, it presumes the passage of the budget 2, not budget 1. And so, most of the impact is from presuming that that's how the fee will be set. The only program that we don't operate in the summer is the cultural meal kitchen. Everything else is operating 12 months now and has expense and program opportunity with it.
Yeah.
So the difference between the fall, winter, spring, and the summer fee is getting less all the time.
Okay.
I think he may be referring to what we submitted. We had for budget 1, $60.90.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for budget 2, we had $73.16.
Uh-huh.
And so what was your specific question about that? We took that $73.16 to our board.
Uh-huh.
And so that's where I believe the way we did that was to match the percent increase for the fee was the $60.90 in that first part.
Uh-huh.
But to, like I mentioned, even out the fee with summer, like, what I was talking about between like construction and the amount of students that are here, whatnot, we are hoping to have $73.16, because that would more accurately match what we are going to be getting in 14 if the both decision packages are approved by you all.
So you're saying you want the $73.16?
Yeah, we do want $73.16.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was a little
For
confusing.
15.
For
if the
15.
Budget, okay.
Yeah, this slide,
Yeah.
might as well disregard it. It got corrupt or something.
Yeah. What were you saying about summer fee? No, I'm a little confused.
I'm confused too, so.
Okay.
So I guess, kind of the question that is addressed to me would be what would be my recommendation perhaps for the MU board, and I don't know, nor have, so I'll defer to anyone in the room that knows what the MU board approved on Thursday, but my understanding they approved a dollar amount of 73.
Whatever that number was.
$73.16.
Yeah.
But my thought process is, given that lack of direction that SIFC has provided to funding boards, if you were to look at a projection increase for the summer fee for FY15 for the MU, and if you were to approve both decision packages, I would recommend looking at the percent change of that, which is 19.98%, So looking at that same increase being applied to FY15 for the summer fee, sort of given the lack of summer fee guidance that funding boards receive. And I can go into how I derive that number if that's helpful.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
So if you look at their budget submission, and I'm working with the number 2 decision package. So that is with a current fee level of $65.78 right now, and then increasing to $73.63. So then you times those by the enrollments, so $65.78 times the $62,600, which is this year's enrollment, gives you, and I can write this out on the flip chart if that's helpful. That'll give you $4,117,828, and then for the new fee of $73.63 times enrollment of $67,100, that gives you $4,940,573, and that is a 19.98% change.
I think one of the challenges, Brad, that we had with the summer fee was coming up with true cost versus what's fair, right?
Yeah.
And with the low number of students in the summer, the true cost goes way up because we still have programs like this building that are fully operational. Granted, shorter hours, but it's still a fully operational building. A lot of our student employment moves from being 10 to 15 hours a week to smaller numbers of students in those positions, but now working 30 hours, 40 hours a week like a lot of our programs do. And so the true costs are still there in the summer. And so finding a good formula, that number is like the upper end number, the 73, whatever that was on that letter, would be if we only took away the cultural meals program. Here's how much the true cost for summer would be for 6,000 seminar students, or whatever that number was, versus this actually makes more sense, is just looking maybe at a percentage increase, like Jen's suggesting is a possible way of thinking about it.
Okay.
And mine, just for the record, I am not have any backing of numbers behind that other than the percentage of looking with the academic year and trying to stay somewhat consistent on what you're doing with the academic year. So that's exactly why my recommendation is that. And given that we know that SIC needs more guidance on the summer fee.
Okay.
And that's where we got stuck in our board meeting, was talking about the true cost versus like,
Yeah.
how do you actually make this make sense?
Because given if you are to approve the decision packages, there's a clear need that the summer fee needs to change, but lacking what it is at the direction of SIC that the boards need to do, that would be my best recommendation for setting something today.
Okay. So what is that dollar amount again for this summer, 2015?
Oh, I didn't do that particular, hold on.
So what it would actually look like if that was the fee.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Or if there was a 19.98 or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you got that again by just adding the both decision packages together and that's helpful.
This is this year's fee,
Mhm.
that's next year's.
And then the change.
Because I got it from these right here, his
Mhm.
fee, and I just did the percent change from that and taking enrollment into account.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Okay, good. That's
so
exactly what it was.
I wouldn't take into account
The-
enrollment necessarily
Yeah.
for summer. I would just apply 19% to it.
This will be, this is basically the total dollar amount of both decision packages. Oh, no,
No,
wait,
this
no.
is this is this budget year
Okay.
from right now. This is the next budget year
Mhm.
with the new enrollment.
Okay, now I get this. Okay, cool. Yeah. We get a questions, concerns? All right, so now for the budget 2, then we're looking at the fall, winter, spring fee of 73 and 63.
Yes, 7360.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
I
would-
think that, oh, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I would just say, I would, I'm not sure where. To make that clearer. I have too many papers right here. I have two. No, yeah, I'd state that in cover letter, the actual dollar amount that you're requesting.
The total?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, I mean, and allocated, rather than just the
And
increase.
increases. All right.
Mhm. 'Cause that makes everything a lot more clear. You'd rather have to
Absolutely.
go to the line item budget and to figure it out.
Mhm.
Increase from the. Okay. Which is here, okay. Mhm, yeah. Should we try to?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Can we try to do that?
I mean, I'd
Do you
say,
see what I'm saying?
yeah, I would just cut this by 2% then, 2% enrollment
I
growth.
don't know. Let me do the room across.
Or, oh, you're gonna keep, okay, you're gonna use that one.
Because it's 65.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's 11. This is actually 11.44% change.
So then we cut that by 11.44%.
That's how we want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how we mitigate for it.
So I'm gonna, you wanna do the
Uh-huh.
full.
Hey, is that 47?
11.44.
44. Maybe that increase.
Mm-hmm. So 59.80 plus.
69.86. Okay. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So we can figure that out.
Okay. Do you want this?
Yeah. So, yeah, let me kind of try to, so for the summer fee, what we came up with was a summer fee of $69.86. And that would, and we got to that by, so finding last year, or this current year's, fee,
Mm-hmm.
summer, or academic year fee, times the estimated enrollment.
Mm-hmm.
And then we took the year, budget 2 academic year fee request times the estimated enrollment for next year. And we found and then we found the percentage difference, which was about 19.98%. So then we were to increase the fiscal year 14, no, fiscal year 13 fee. Why is that? Yeah, that's weird.
This is 14 for summer.
Okay, fiscal year 14 fee, by that amount, which then we got $71.16.
Mm-hmm.
And then we adjusted it for the enrollment increase, the projected enrollment increase, and that brought us down to $69.86. It's kind of confusing. I mean, I don't know.
I see where you're
A
going
little
with that, though.
confusing.
I guess my question to Mike would be, do we want to stick with the 7316, or do we need to retake that to the board?
Well, I mean, at this point, the board and SIFC don't necessarily have to agree.
Mhm.
The board approved up to that 73 amount, so.
Yeah, it
if
is
comes
over, that's
down,
what I was
then
thinking.
that's SFC to do.
Hmm.
So then
Yeah,
you
I absolutely see where you
want
got that. The only thing I would
approve
warn is
the-
that, you know, the MU is very a unique entity over the summer, and so programming increases, construction
Yeah.
increases.
I mean,
so-
it's, wait, Jeff. Well, see, this one should actually be, this is what we approved last year. Cool. Yeah.
Is this the one we approved last year?
No, this one was approved. This one was approved, it's basically like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But we're still using this one, because that one's still the one
Yeah.
used right now.
Yeah.
The 5473, that will be next year, that was applied, that was,
It's not, it's not approved. It's 5980 is what they're at right now.
yeah. Oh,
This will be, I don't know what that is.
yeah, but wait. This is the, December 15th, December 2015, fiscal year 15.
15.
In reality,
Mhm. But they're at 5980 right now.
yeah. And this is what we approved last year, as
No.
SIC.
This is what you approved. I don't know where that number came from.
Okay. Cool.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. So I think we should use the number, yeah, $69.86 for the summer fee. Does anyone have any more questions?
So, but that would be for 15, so that wouldn't be, that would just be for the projection for the next one, that wouldn't be
Mhm.
for this one we approved, because it's still be approved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Well, if there's no more questions, let me get my sheet. I entertain a motion.
Do we need to change the amount on this one? Just in motion, or we could just? No, because it's for-
Leave the academic year what they, I mean, with the decision packages.
Wait. So, a motion would be to approve the budget to the decision package one,
Yeah,
two,
so do that fee, that academic year fee.
and then, but would we approve a different summer fee than what's listed, or we still approve the 5473 with that?
Well, this isn't, that's wrong.
Yeah, so,
Yes.
so we'd be approving something higher than what their actual request is within this decision package, or this budget.
Mhm. But this isn't for, that's not for,
That's not for that.
no, it's not for, no, it's for summer 2015.
So then.
So it's
we
really,
wouldn't
like,
do
this
that.
is a pretty far off projection.
Yeah. Wait. Some, I would be, should we just, we wouldn't change that at all now, would we?
No.
So we could just basically, I think the budget as is, right?
Well, see, this number's not even true.
No, not yet.
Hey, Jen.
Mhm.
There you are.
Sorry.
This number's not going here, right?
No.
No,
Okay,
Just give
what,
it.
but what is this number?
No.
What is it supposed to be?
Supposed to be 5980.
What's this supposed to be?
5980.
It was the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it should,
Okay.
but
Oh,
then,
that's
so
what- that's what's
7363 and the
confusing me.
5980 should be the two numbers that we
Well,
would
wait a
want to
minute.
approve if we have
So if
approved
this is supposed to be
budget.
5980, then they're overestimating their income.
So, no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. So you gotta remember how your fiscal years go, and this is applied for FY15.
This,
This, so this number will not be in this budget, because this is.
yeah, I know,
FY15.
but this number is calculated using that fee, when it's reality,
Right.
it's that.
And then you'll see that on some of the other budgets too. Just like you did, CAPS was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we can catch it, we might as well change it.
I'd be consistent in not, because this is
I mean-
how this fee's been set for multiple years,
But,
while you're doing your summer charge.
yeah,
What are you worried about?
well, I'm saying like, this number's from that number, 322,
Right, okay,
is from that number,
right.
which
So
in
it shouldn't
reality,
be this number.
Wouldn't
well, it
it?
even shouldn't be this number, it should be
Correct,
that
it
number
should be
times that number,
Yes,
which is more than that.
right.
So they're actually, the real
So you could
total
do a
fees
couple of different things.
gonna be
You could-
higher.
Right.
Okay,
So there's a couple of different things that happen with the MU budget, given the revenues and expenses and all.
mm-hmm,
Because this projection, and that amount of error, if you will.
it's, I mean, it's very minimal.
Correct. But if you really want to adjust it, you certainly can, but then you're gonna
Okay,
be what are you gonna adjust, the academic or the summer?
it'd be, I mean, we can't adjust this summer. We can
Well,
only,
you are adjusting the summer by the income.
well, this summer,
Right. So soon, so
Yeah.
then the only thing left to do in this particular is adjust the,
academic year.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
okay.
Yeah, okay, so I guess we'll decide that, we'll talk about this.
You may wanna take a recess because
Okay, yeah, we'll do that real quick. We're gonna take a quick recess to talk about the summer fee. It'll be like 10 minutes? Yeah, 10-minute recess. Thanks, everyone. You guys can-
Okay.
So what the problem is, this number right here. Cool, so what we talked about, there was, in their budget request, the MU used the wrong summer number for the summer fee number. They used I think it was 5473 when it should actually have been 5980. And that caused their student fee income, their estimation for student fee income to be lower than it actually would be. So then how we can adjust for that is we figured the difference of that 5473 versus 5980, and that came out to be, where did I write that? Where did it go? It was about 29,913, and so we added that back on to the academic year request for fiscal year 14, and that dropped their fee request to $73.18.
Okay.
I can show you all.
Yeah, so am I
Afterwards.
correct in assuming that the summer fee hadn't changed from 13,
Ye-
14?
Because the requested budget summer fee, that was actually set by last year's committee,
Yeah.
and that was at 5980. Yeah, it's fun to try to explain that to people. I didn't even understand it myself. But yeah, so that's kind of how we came up with that number. So I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to approve today with the decision package.
So
And
we
I'll
have-
entertain a motion.
All right. I move to approve budget 2 with decision packages 1 and 2 at the fee levels of 7318 for the academic year and 6986 for the summer term.
Seconded.
Cool. All right, I'll do a roll call. Actually, is there any discussion on that?
Do you wanna do an amendment for your summer fee?
Wait.
Or are you gonna do it separate?
On what?
That was,
Do your summer fee?
Yeah, we do it at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a roll call vote. Amelia?
4.
Tyler? 4. Nick?
Or,
Tori?
4.
Cool. And so on a 4-0 vote, the academic year for fiscal year 14 is approved at, thank you, 7363, and the summer,
no, 7318.
I mean 7318, I don't know what I'm reading. Yeah, 7318, and the summer fee for fiscal year 15 is approved at $69.86. Cool, thank you. That was, just a reminder, that was a tentative decision. We'll make the final decision at the open hearing on February 12th at 5 o'clock in your own MU ballroom.
okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Thank you all
Cool.
very much.
Yeah. And motion, move to adjourn?
Yeah. Well, I guess you can't. I move to adjourn.
There we go. Adjourned.
All right, I think it's nap time.